The smartest thing Democrats did this year was finding their patriotism again. If you told me a year ago that if Kamala Harris would be the nominee and in her acceptance speech she would use the word privilege, I would not have guessed that she used it the way she did. America's founders, they were the Gen Z of their day. And when they were your age, they started a country. What the f*** have you done?
Kamala Harris, the Democratic Party's front-runner, took the brunt of Bill Maher's scathing criticism on Real Time with Bill Maher, which has sparked a heated controversy inside the party. The controversial comedian launched a vicious attack on his own party, charging them of spreading anti-American sentiments and inciting young people to hate the country. It should come as no surprise that Maher's audacious comments caused a rapid and fierce backlash among Democrats. The party retaliated with equal vigor, intensifying the simmering conflict. I've compiled all of the most important video for you, so please hit the subscribe button and let's get started.
The smartest thing Democrats did this year was finding their patriotism again. If you told me a year ago that if Kamala Harris would be the nominee and in her acceptance speech she would use the word privilege, I would not have guessed that she used it the way she did.
Maher started by acknowledging that Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Kamala Harris did express love for America, laying the groundwork for the harsh realities he was going to expose. But it's obvious that their message didn't connect with the younger Democratic generation. So the question is, why didn't the young people hear the message? As usual, Maher didn't leave the matter hanging. He exposed the disconnect by removing the layers, putting Kamala Harris directly at fault. Even while she may say one thing, her silence and actions reveal quite another. The following several minutes were nothing short of horrible.
Is America the only place in the world where a white guy from the suburbs could become a millionaire rapper? Because here, every person, regardless of race, class, or gender, has the right to be talent-free. And guess what document allows you to protest and chant, hey, hey, ho, ho, followed by something really stupid? Yeah. Constitution Day was last week. It's an actual federal holiday, but no one noticed despite the fact that it's probably the greatest legal document ever. Is it flawed? Of course. It was written by humans, and they were all white men, as depicted in this illustration from Google AI.
You may be asking how the Democrats are related to all of these cases. Maher had no intention of leaving that question unanswered. Piece by piece, he meticulously prepared the foundation, which led to an eye-opening conclusion. Early on, it became evident that the Democratic Party's elder generation had fostered a rising animosity towards America, whether on purpose or not. The younger generation has inherited this animosity as a poisonous legacy. Even the staunchest party loyalists would be unable to ignore Maher's readiness to make the connections.
But how about looking at the actual ideas in it? I won't hold my breath for that because only 14% of 8th graders are proficient in history now, and only 22% in civics, which may be why 4 in 10 Gen Zers say the authors of the Constitution are best described as villains.
Prepare yourself because what he's going to say will hit even harder than anyone could have predicted.
It's amazing, since in 1776, James Monroe was 18. Alexander Hamilton was 21 and James Madison 25. Joe Biden was only 30. America's founders, they were the Gen Z of their day. And when they were your age, they started a country. What the f*** have you done?
Maher doesn't mince words, bringing Gen Z Democrats under intense scrutiny. To be honest, he makes a strong argument. Although it's simple, to hold the elder generation accountable for inciting anti-American sentiment, Maher maintains that Gen Z isn't exempt. They have every opportunity to delve further, challenge dominant narratives, and learn the truth about America independently. In a time when knowledge is readily available, however, a lot of people decided to repeat the resentment that had been instilled in them without looking past news stories or lessons learnt in school. Maher's criticism, however, goes farther. His subsequent remarks have an impact on the entire party and go beyond simply challenging Generation Z. The real cause of all this animosity is revealed after the facade is taken down, and nobody was prepared for this discovery.
The Constitution isn't perfect because it wasn't written by Taylor Swift, but... and yes, the founders made excruciating compromises. Obviously, slavery. But slavery was a deal breaker for the southern states. So there would have been two countries. And then to end slavery in North America, it would have involved invading a sovereign nation instead of having the moral high ground of keeping a union together. Would that have been better? History's complicated, and Gen Z reasoning is not. They think they're pure, but they're really just simplistic. They know two things. White people did some very bad things, and no, that's it. That's all they know.
Everyone can agree that slavery was a terrible institution. Nobody questions that. However, as Maher points out, history isn't always the straightforward narrative we like it to be. There is more to it than black and white. It is full of subtleties, paradoxes, and hard realities. The boundaries and conventions of the times have created innumerable gray regions. Yes, our forefathers had many serious flaws, but many of them were also acting as morally as possible for the time. Were they flawless? Not at all. However, it can be worthwhile to examine ourselves closely before passing judgment on them. We still make mistakes, sometimes serious ones, in ways we may not even be aware of yet, despite all of our contemporary knowledge, education, moral superiority, and artificial intelligence technologies. What Maher goes on to suggest makes us confront a frightening thought. What if the true threat lies not in our history, but rather in the blind spots we're ignoring now?
Well, I know that too. But I also know other things. Like how in 1776, slavery was a lot like flying private today. If you could afford to, you would have done it too. Everybody did it, of all races, throughout history, in the Bible, and all over the world. If you hate George Washington for slavery, are you prepared to hate the woman king? Because her empire was built on it too. And where do you imagine is this place, outside of your brilliant, pure minds, that's so much better than America? At least America self-corrects, a mechanism for which was actually written into the Constitution.
As he rips apart the growing contempt of the woke mob for America's ancestors, Maher maintains the pressure high by dropping truth bomb after truth bomb. In addition to criticizing their opinions, he completely destroys the story, showing how their obsession with moral rectitude ignores the complex facts of the past. He then deftly turns his attention to something even more perplexing. Their obvious disdain for America, combined with their heedless enthusiasm for nations that provide not a quarter of the liberties, privileges, and advantages that the United States offers. Maher's remarks are direct and incisive. His criticism of the hypocrisy is spot on. These demonstrators worship ideas they don't fully understand, idealize countries they haven't visited, and criticize a system that, despite its flaws, gives them the right to demonstrate. The worst part is that these opponents' viewpoints would drastically shift if they spent even a week in the regimes they support. Maher isn't done, though. The final layer of deception is removed by the following point he makes, and it's the one reality that the waking mob fears the most.
The irony is, in all this, is that the world the founders birthed, flawed though it may be, provides the bedrock for everything that makes life good for the very people who hate them so much. It's so easy to take for granted individual liberty, a Bill of Rights, the rule of law, checks and balances, getting a trial by jury, the peaceful transfer of power, protecting minority rights, and democracy itself. But those are the things that make our pampered, privileged, bratty lives so relatively cushy.
We enjoy the rights, freedoms, and privileges that many people now take for granted because of our predecessors, whether we like it or not. They worked, battled, suffered, and in many cases lost their lives to lay the groundwork for our freedom to express ourselves, demonstrate publicly, and follow our aspirations without worrying about oppression. Although their path was not without its challenges, it was filled with unfathomable sacrifice. It is not only historically dishonest to diminish or minimize their contributions, as many Democrats appear eager to do, but it also seriously damages their memory. It's simple to evaluate the past using contemporary moral standards, but it's much more difficult to recognize the hardship that led to our current state of affairs. Bill Maher makes a very simple point. We run the risk of losing the same principles and freedoms that the people who founded this country, whatever its flaws, fought to defend if we disregard or demonize them. And the terrifying caution? What follows could be considerably more dangerous than anything we have ever encountered once that reverence is gone. For the opportunity to start afresh in the United States, people from all over the world risk everything. They work hard, make sacrifices, and many even spend their whole life savings or pay bribes to enter the United States in order to have a chance at a better life here. My neighbors from South America, Africa, and other places sold everything they owned. These days, some pursue opportunities by working night shifts, driving taxis, or juggling several jobs. Even cleaning homes in America gives more optimism than what they left behind. Thus, I've encountered ladies who have left behind husbands, kids, and even lucrative jobs to do so. The United States is not a defective experiment, but rather a lifeline for individuals who must endure the harsh reality of broken economies and failed systems. For millions of people worldwide, America is heaven, a home of second chances, freedom, and dignity gained via hard work, even though it may not be paradise to a noisy few who only see its shortcomings. Maher also issued a warning. If we continue to attack the country that others are trying so hard to reach, we might wake up one day to discover that we have destroyed the one thing that people still believe is worth dying for, although it frequently gets lost in the shuffle. Maher also makes a compelling point. Failure is not the end in America. At 40, you can lose your job, fall on your feet, go bankrupt, quit college, or start over and still come out stronger. Such resilience is ingrained in the system and is not merely cultural. Second chances are the foundation of America. Consider how your first failure defines you for the rest of your life in many parts of the world, and how your last name, social class, or political connections bind you to a predetermined destiny. In this place, you can be born into poverty and go on to become a senator, a business owner, or a homeowner. Although it's not ideal, this place offers more opportunities for upward mobility than practically any other. However, a large number of people who have this independence are the first to take it for granted. Maher's underlying message is very clear. Don't be surprised if the system that provided you with the means to prosper ceases working for you or anyone else if you continue to criticize it. His message is straightforward but impactful. Despite its flaws, America continues to provide the greatest possibility for freedom, opportunity, and reinvention in history. This nation has gained a respect that many people now undervalue because of the sacrifices made by our forefathers and the dangers people incur to get here. We might wake up one day to discover that the America we destroyed is permanently gone if we continue to demonize the exact system that gives us power. And that concludes the video for today. For more hot material like this, please hit the like button and subscribe if you liked it. Thank you for viewing.
No one starves here. Even our poor people are fat. Not everyone has to be bribed. Anyone can get rich. The cops are flawed, but we're not a police state. The drinks don't make you go blind, and no one pushes you out of a window for a bad Yelp review. Our government takes a lot and fucks up a lot, but it also gives a lot. Healthcare, retirement, money, unemployment, disability, college grants, food stamps. Maybe in the blissfully perspective-free mind, this all adds up to a low bar that America has reached. But you have to ask, why do millions of people every year risk their lives to come here? Because they want what we got. The founders were flawed, but they did build a place the whole world wants to break into. No one is paying a coyote to smuggle them into India or Russia. Immigrants don't see us as the problem. They see us as the solution. And there's a reason they kill themselves to get here, and it's not just the ponds full of delicious ducks and geese.